Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Vertical Events, for the opportunity to present. It's always great to come to Melbourne around the finals time. Unfortunately, no West Australians left this year, but we'll be back next year, and hopefully Fremantle will actually pull together something that's a bit better than what we've been doing the last few years. But today we're going to be talking about how we as Blackstone Minerals are positioned to meet demand from Asia's growing lithium-ion battery industry. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to reopen this mine here. This is a mine that's built in Vietnam, northern Vietnam, near Hanoi. We've acquired this back in May, and it's ready to go, but we think we need to move this forward to a battery product, which is a nickel sulfate, and we'll talk all about that today. So we have an international portfolio of nickel, copper and cobalt and precious metals all throughout the globe. Our focus is battery metals. We also have some gold throughout our portfolio. Today we'll talk mainly about the Tarkwa nickel project, which we just acquired, and the BC Cobalt Belt in British Columbia. So the Tarkwa nickel project, it's an existing mine under care and maintenance. It operated between 2013 and 2016. They mined a massive sulphide vein, very high grade, and then they got to the bottom of the mine and didn't do any exploration, and then they put the mine into care and maintenance. There's an existing concentrator ready to go. They generated significant revenue. They sunk over $130 million of capital into this mine, and they've built it to an Australian standard. Most importantly, they gave the government $65 million. So when we have meetings with the provincial and the central government, the question is, when do we start this mine? Because they know it pays taxes, and they know that Australians know how to mine. So the government's been very supportive for us to get this mine back up and running. We'll also talk about the BC Cobalt project, where we're hunting for primary cobalt, and we think we've got a full belt of potential there. We started as an IPO, we started in the goldfields of Western Australia. The Silver Swan South project is near Kalgoorlie, along strike of the Kanowna Belle gold mine, and the Black Swan or Silver Swan nickel mine. So we've got some great gold and nickel out in Kalgoorlie, and we've also got some gold up in the Pilbara. So this is a bit of a capital structure. The code's BSX. Unfortunately, you can't get on the bid today. We're in trading halt. We're raising about $5 million at 15 cents, which is a great price because we recently did our last raise at 5 cents. So the acquisition of the Tarkwa nickel project's been well received in the market. Board and management have a strong position, around 20%. We have a very supportive German institutional shareholder called Deutsche Balaton. They've been great, and they just keep on buying. So yeah, that cash position will now be 1.8 plus the 5 million today that we're raising. So it still keeps a pretty tight capital structure, around 180 to 190 million shares on issue. So a very tight capital structure going forward. Board and management, so we've got Hamish Halliday and Steve Parsons. These are been business partners for 20 years. As good a mining executive as you'll see, these guys, I've learnt so much off both of them, and it's been a great journey already. And Steve's also had some success recently with a company called Bellevue Gold, ASX code BGL. Have a look at that one. This is exactly what we think we can do again with Blackstone. So Bellevue, when Steve took over, I think had about a 5 million market cap. Today it's about 350 million in probably some of the most difficult capital markets we've seen in a long time. So a great result for Bellevue, but this isn't the first time. This has been done a number of times before. Hamish did it with a company called Adamas Resources, $3 million float, multi-million ounce discovery. Steve also did it with Griffin Minerals. So this is I suppose, story that we can repeat. And create shareholder wealth through major discoveries and moving, I suppose, assets in towards production. Okay, so this is the Tarkwa nickel project. We're up in just out to the west of Hanoi, so it's 160 kilometres west of Hanoi in the Son La province. So the LG Chem have done a joint venture with VinFast and they're going to build a battery factory on the port of Haiphong. That's actually the port where the previous operators were shipping concentrate. Previous operators were actually paying a 20% tariff, and that's why the government was getting so much money. I plan not to pay that tariff, and I plan to produce a downstream product. So if we can produce a downstream product being a nickel sulfate, we can remove that tariff. And the plan would be to sell it into that battery plant on the coast there at Haiphong. So we've got plenty of exploration potential. We've got a concentrator. We've got plenty of existing infrastructure, local. We've got hydro grid power, low labour costs, a modern 250-person camp, tailings facility ready to go. This is a mine that was built as if it was in Australia. A significant amount of capital already sunk, over $130 million. A very supportive local partner. So this is really important when you go into Southeast Asia. You've got to have a supportive local partner. Mr. Tuan, he runs a company called Cosima. He's very well connected in the local community, but he's also well connected into the government. So he's a representative of the local people, and he's also very keen to get the mine up and running because he's free carriage, so he'll do very well out of it. This is the geology. So we're looking at a magmatic nickel sulfide system. It actually runs all the way through into China. So as soon as you get to the border, nickel mines all through this belt. We believe there's potential for nickel all through the Vietnamese side of this belt. Never been explored systematically. We think we can uncover what could be a full system here of nickel sulfide ore bodies along this belt. So we're looking at a type of geology that's the same as the Jinchuan mine and the Norilsk mine. So these are some of the largest nickel mines in the world. It's a nickel sulfide. We've got copper, cobalt, platinum and palladium. So it's a major rift zone, deep-seated sort of geology to really drive big tonnages and good grades. So this is a bit of a snapshot of some of the infrastructure. So this is an underground mine that's been built to modern standards. So that's a very large truck. That portal is as good as you'll see anywhere in the world. We've got the camp there. We've got some float cells. That's a better view of the plant. So this is a 450,000 tonne per annum concentrator. We think we'll need to upgrade that. So we'll probably put a second mill over to the left here. So that will end up being our secondary mill. We'll have a primary SAG mill in here. We'll actually add some more float cells out the back. We've got the tailings dam, so that's a Knight Piesold internationally sort of designed tailings facility. This is an internationally certified SGS laboratory on site. This is a port of Haiphong, so that we won't be doing that. That's shipping concentrate, so we definitely won't be doing that. That's the stores, so we've got all the critical spares, millions of dollars worth of critical spares ready to throw into the plant when it's operating. We've actually got two portals, so that's the upper portal, two portals, which is really important when you want to pull bulk tonnages out of an underground mine. So this is the nickel price over the last 10 years. I actually haven't updated it. By the way, it's actually up here somewhere. It's worth keeping an eye on. It does tend to move pretty quick. We've got, what we're saying here is that these are the costs that they operated at, and this is why you look, as an investor, you want to look for nickel sulfide, because nickel sulfides will work in any nickel price environment. So unfortunately for these guys, they started with a 5-year mine life. They mined it in 3.5. The nickel price went against them. They didn't do any drilling through this period, and they had to shut it right at the bottom of the market. Good for me though. So this is an established mining industry in Vietnam. So this asset is of national significance. It's in the mining master plan. So when we go into Vietnam, we're welcome with open arms, because they know that as Australians, we know how to mine. We do it sustainably, environmentally friendly. We look after the community, and most importantly, we pay our taxes. So they're pretty keen to get this mine back up and running. There's over 20 underground mines and 20 open pit mines, so there's an established mining industry in Vietnam. So this is a snapshot of the geology. So we've got a domal structure. We've got 25 veins throughout. The centrally located concentrator, where the main ore body is called Ban Phuc. These are some of the grades you'll get in the veins. So we've got very good high-grade veins, a little bit narrow, but we'll look for for where those narrow veins blow out. But more importantly, we're actually looking at this ore body. It's called a disseminated sulphide. They mined this massive sulphide. We think this ore body can be mined. It's lower grade, but there's a significant amount of nickel metal tonnes in that. So that's 1.5 kilometres long, 500 metres wide. That's a really interesting ore body. I think this Bandfoot disseminated is a globally significant nickel ore body. This is what it looks like on a cross section. So they mined this vein out. We're going to mine this. We can either punch out and mine it as an underground, or this could be an open pit. We need to do the economics on both. This one came out this week. So this disseminated ore body has never been assayed for platinum, palladium or gold. This is a game changer. There's been a bit of chatter on the Twitter on whether it is a game changer. I will continue to say this is a game changer. These platinum and palladium credits have the potential to cover all the costs. So then we're talking negative cash costs, which would be great. So this is a real, I suppose, surprise for us. I was happy for maybe 0.1 gram per tonne, but we're looking at sort of up to 1 gram per tonne in platinum, palladium and gold. Not sure if anyone's aware, but the palladium price is actually higher than gold at the moment. So keep an eye on palladium. We've got a lot of platinum as well. This is a significant potential for a byproduct credit. So the Bandfoot intrusion, which we were just looking at, that's only one of a number of magnetic anomalies nearby. We think there's a number of these intrusions. There's a good chance that there's a significant amount of this disseminated sulphide around. We're the first ever company to do an IP survey. So IP is used to highlight or look for disseminated ore bodies, disseminated sulphide. So we've got the main ore body at Bandfoot has been fairly well drilled. We need to continue drilling that, but we've got a number of targets nearby. And we're drilling these as we speak. So we're looking at a downstream nickel process. So as I said earlier, there's a tariff on concentrate. So if we can produce a final product, being nickel sulphate, we can reduce or remove that tariff. We're doing the study work now. The reason we want to produce a sulphate is because the key market for lithium-ion batteries is Japan, Korea, not so much Canada, there's only 1,000 tonnes there, China. So we're on the doorstep of the lithium-ion industry, very close to where all these batteries are being made. This is the flow sheet we're looking at, very similar to Independence Group. So Australia's biggest nickel miner, Independence Group, they've got the Nova Bollinger or Nova nickel mine. They're also looking at this. So if they're doing it, then there must be some sort of reason, and the reason is that the future of nickel is in batteries. This is the main piece of kit that we will use. It's an autoclave. This is used all throughout the mining industry, so it's a proven technology, and it's tried and tested, particularly through the gold industry for refractory gold. This is the BC Cobalt project. So we'll just touch on this because this was our first sort of foray into battery metals. I actually got a 50 million market cap off one drill hole, so that was pretty good fun. But unfortunately the cobalt price has gone against us. But this asset is a great asset, and we'll get back to this. It's 6 hours out of Vancouver. We've got a 48 kilometre belt. This is the most prolific gold belt in British Columbia. So they mined 4.4 million ounces at 17 grams per tonne down at Braylorn. And then along strike we've got this really interesting high-grade cobalt, gold and copper system. So we've done some great work. The jewel area is probably the most exciting. We drilled out this little gem and it lived up to its namesake. It wasn't big enough to be an underground or a modern day mine. We will test some of these targets over time. So we've got copper, gold, cobalt on surface, and then a very large disseminated sulphide, we think, or massive sulphide, but potentially disseminated sulphide at depth. And you can see that in these sections. So these chargeabilities are indicating sulphides. So that is a significant IP chargeability anomaly. That is just crying out for a couple of drill holes, and we'll get onto that at some stage. The reason we like this is the same geology as the Bouazir mine in Morocco, and that's the only primary cobalt mine, and that's that particular geology there. So serpentinized ultramafic quartz diorite, same geology as the previous section, that is across that contact back in Canada. So we think there's a potential for some of this primary cobalt all through this system. So that in Morocco, they've got 50 kilometres, 50 deposits. They've been mining cobalt for 75 years. They're still today the only primary cobalt mine today. So they actually mine cobalt at a 1% head grade. The next 6 months, we'll drill out the Bandfoot ore body, we'll deliver a maiden resource and a maiden reserve, and we'll then deliver a scoping study for the downstream process. So we've raised $5 million today. That will go into the scoping study, and we'll be able to deliver an MPV in the next 6 months. So we've got some great assets throughout the globe, battery and precious metals. There's a proven mine that's been built and operated to Australian standards. We need to restart that mine, but we need to look at a battery product. We've got some great cobalt geology in British Columbia, but most importantly, we've got a team that's well credentialed and has done this before. So what we do is we take $5 million companies, we turn them into multiple $100 million companies. This asset we acquired in Vietnam, we did it at $6 million, we're now at $30 million, and it's only 4 months in. So this is what we've done before, and we'll do it again. So have a good look and get on board. Thanks.